I need a helper today. Blake, would you be my helper?
Yes.
Boy, it took you a long time to agree. Now, this is just regular string. Your mom or grandma might have some of this. This is that string that they use to make pretty things out of. And what I want you to do is, I want you to just show these people how strong you are by breaking it, okay? Pretty strong, huh? Now, I want you to watch what I'm going to do, because this isn't anything magical or anything, Blake. This is just an illustration of how things are in life. Okay? Mm-hmm. What I'm doing
is making the string stronger.
Well, I'm just going to take 3 pieces of the string. I'm not braiding them. It's just 3 pieces standing together. And I want you to, again, to show them how strong you are and break that.
Hold it. Hold it. Hold it. Hold it. I got to break it.
All right. Thank you. Solomon, that's it. You get an A for effort. Solomon was considered by many to be one of the wisest of all people. And in Ecclesiastes, the 4th chapter, verse 12, Solomon has written, "Though one may be overpowered, 2 can defend themselves. A cord of 3 strands is not quickly broken." Blake just demonstrated that verse for us. One standing alone can be overpowered very quickly. But a cord of 3 strands, it doesn't say it can't be broken. And Blake demonstrated that it in fact can be broken. But it didn't happen very quickly, did it, Blake?
I had to push it around my hand to get a good grip.
Yeah, and had to put a lot more energy in it, didn't you? Now here's my question for you this morning. How does this relate to the nature of the church? And see, as we continue our examination of the nature of the church, I want us to see today that the model of what the church should be, the scriptural model that is presented to us, is essentially a fellowship model. And I use the word essentially for a specific reason. It has to do with the essence. That's what essentially means. Fellowship has to do with the essence of what it means to be the church. And I don't think it's insignificant that as we study the Bible, we always find Christians spoken of in the plural. And one of the admonitions of the writer of the book of Hebrews in chapter 10 is that we not forsake the assembling together. And he goes on to write, or she goes on to write, as is the custom of some. Okay? And in fact, again, I don't think it's insignificant that Jesus himself said, "For where 2 or 3 come together in my name, there I am with them." He doesn't say when one person stands out in the woods by himself, in my name, I'm there with him. This doesn't mean that God forsakes us in those times. It's simply saying that a part of the essence of what it means to be a Christian is that we are in fellowship with other Christians. We make up the church. And the importance of the we is that each one of us brings something unique, and I think it's synergy, isn't it, that says the sum of the parts is greater than the whole. It's a model of unity in the midst of diversity. And for our text today, I want us to look at a part of Paul's letter to the Christians at Corinth, 1 Corinthians 12 to 26. It's a part of Paul's discussion of spiritual gifts. The church at Corinth had problems with division. And we just saw in chapter 11, to establish the context, that Paul was talking about the church, the importance of the church as it comes together in communion. And now, in chapter 12, verse 12, Paul writes, "The body is a unit, though it's made up of many parts. And though all of its parts are many, they form one body. So it is with Christ. For we were all baptized by one Spirit into one body, whether Jews or Greeks, slave or free. And we were all given the one Spirit to drink. Now the body is not made up of one part, but of many. If the foot should say, 'Well, because I'm not a hand, I don't belong to the body,' it would not for that reason cease to be part of the body. And if the ear should say, 'Because I'm not an eye, I don't belong to the body,' it would not for that reason cease to be part of the body. If the whole body were an eye, where would the sense of hearing be? If the whole body were an ear, where would the sense of smell be? But in fact, God has arranged the parts in the body, every one of them, just as He wanted them to be. If they were all one part, where would the body be? As it is, there are many parts, but one body. The eye cannot say to the hand, 'I don't need you,' and the head cannot say to the feet, 'I don't need you.' On the contrary, those parts of the body that seem to be weaker are indispensable. And the parts that we think are less honorable, we treat with special honor. And the parts that are unpresentable are treated with special modesty, while our presentable parts need no special treatment. But God has combined the members of the body and has given greater honor to the parts that lacked it, so that there should be no division in the body, but that its parts should have equal concern for each other. If one part suffers, every part suffers with it. If one part is honored, every part rejoices with it." May God add His blessing to the reading of His Word. Have you noticed that we do a better job at suffering with others than we do at rejoicing when people are honored? I just think it's a part of human nature, but, when somebody else is honored, our tendency is to say, "Well, I don't see why they're getting the honor. I've done this and that and this and that, and nobody's ever said anything to me about it." When somebody's suffering, it's pretty easy to come alongside and suffer with them. And notice also that Paul starts this section by saying the body is a unit. Though it's made up of many parts, and though all its parts are many, they form one body. So it is with Christ. He's talking about the church. And to establish the context, all we have to do is remember what we saw in chapter 11 as he's dealing with communion and the importance of there not being divisions. And now in chapter 12 is concerned about how people are utilizing the spiritual gifts God has given to them. Also, in the verse following the text that I chose, verse 27, Paul clearly says, "Now you are the body of Christ, and each one of you is part of it." You are the body of Christ. Now think about that. Because who was Jesus? What is one way that we speak of who Jesus was? We talk about Him as God in the flesh. Incarnate. That's what incarnation means. God incarnate. So if we are the body of Christ, aren't we as the church Christ incarnate, the incarnation of Christ today? The fleshing out of who Christ is? So here's my question. when many other metaphors could have been used to discuss the nature of the church, why does Paul specifically use the body?
It's familiar.
It's familiar. But in Paul's day, wouldn't the crew of a ship all working together to attain one purpose, wouldn't that have also been a apt metaphor?
It's specific to the individual. To think of my body.
Okay. We bring it home a lot easier because we think of my body. For instance, go ahead, Richard.
Because he made it?
Well, it's one of the creations that He made, yes. And the church is therefore a creation of Christ that follows on. Many, I'm sure, would simply say that the image was just a convenient metaphor plucked at random to make a point. But I don't think so. I don't think so. There are many ways in which diversity and unity and diversity could have been illustrated. Monday, I was sharing with the Bible study group some books that have been very important to me. And one of those is a book called After You Believe, Why Christian Character Matters by N.T. Wright. Wright suggests that beyond the fact that Jesus was and is a human being, the church as incarnate kind of idea, that the real answer, as we find elsewhere, and I'm quoting him, in this letter, 1 Corinthians, and elsewhere in Paul's writings, is rooted in the vision of the church precisely as the renewed, redeemed humankind. And he goes on to suggest that the body is not just a metaphor, but it's a metonymy. Now, what's a metonymy? I can guarantee you this, because I looked. It's not one of the figures of speech that they have a picture of on the wall at the elementary school. And they do several of them. Simile, A metonymy is something you're all familiar with, even though you might not realize it. A metonymy is a figure of speech in which we use the name of something in the place of something else because the one thing is intimately associated with that other thing or concept. Let me give you an illustration. How many of you at one time or another have been talking about politics and you said, well, what else do you expect from Washington? You used the word Washington, the name of the capital of our country, as a metonymy for the whole political spectrum. Okay? Because it's just intimately connected with it. And what N.T. Wright is saying is that Jesus and Paul use this concept, especially Paul, of the church as the body because of the intimate association with it. That what he's talking about is that it's a part of the construction and the proper operation of what the church should be. And Paul will go on in his other writings to speak of that Christ is the head. Okay? And we are the rest of that. Now, let me illustrate just another principle. Okay? Blake, step out here again. We might have done this before. But just squeeze my hand. Come on, squeeze. Now, squeeze my hand. Could you squeeze easier when I wasn't holding your little finger? Could you squeeze tighter? Yeah. Something as insignificant as the little finger is very much involved in our hand grip. Now, I want you all to do this. I want everybody to stand up for a second.